Hello friends, this is a Zen story about how to save our money in our lifetime. Come on, let us go into the story. Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled among rolling hills, there lived an old monk named Master Kenzo. He was known throughout the land for his wisdom, not just in matters of the spirit but also in the practical ways of living, including money. Many would come to him with their problems, and Master Kenzo would listen, often responding with a story or a question that seemed simple but would stay with the listener for days. One day, a young man named Hiroshi came to visit the master. Hiroshi was troubled. He had worked hard for years, saving a little money, but he felt anxious. Every time he saved, something would come up: a broken roof, a sick parent, a sudden festival that required gifts. His savings were always dwindling, and he worried that no matter how hard he worked, he would never have enough to be secure. Hiroshi asked the master, "How can I save my money wisely so that it lasts for my whole life?" Master Kenzo smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story, Hiroshi. Long ago, in a distant land, there was a farmer named Hanzo. Hanzo had two sons, one wise and one foolish. Each year, Hanzo's farm produced a modest harvest, enough for the family to live comfortably, but not abundantly. Before he died, Hanzo divided his land and his wealth equally between his two sons, but he gave them both the same advice: the crops are like your life's earnings, and the wealth I give you is like water. Use it carefully, for once it's gone, it does not return. The wise one understands this, but the foolish one does not. Choose how you spend your wealth as you would water in a dry land." The first son, Akio, listened closely to his father's words. He worked his land with care, sold his produce in the market, and saved a portion of his earnings each year. He lived modestly, spending on what he needed and occasionally on small pleasures, but he always kept in mind his father's warning, to treat his money like water in a dry land. Over time, his savings grew steadily, like a slow, quiet stream filling a pond. He also learned to invest in things that would provide more in the future. He planted trees that bore fruit, and built canals to irrigate more land. His wealth expanded, not just in silver, but in the richness of his life, which now flowed steadily from many sources. The second son, Daichi, was different. He heard his father's words but did not truly understand them. He thought, "We live in a world where wealth is abundant, and more can always be earned." Daichi worked hard, but he spent his money quickly. He enjoyed fine clothes, grand feasts, and threw lavish parties. He thought nothing of it when the roof of his house needed repair or when his oxen grew tired. He simply bought new ones. When his fields didn't produce enough crops one year, he sold pieces of his land to make up for the loss. Over time, his wealth slipped away, like water seeping through the cracks of a jar. Eventually, Daichi found himself with little left, and his once vast fields had shrunk to a small, barren patch of land. He had no trees to bear fruit and no streams to irrigate his crops. He grew old and poor, relying on the kindness of others. One day, when Akio and Daichi were both old men, they sat together on what remained of their father's farm. Akio's lands were lush and green, his family happy and prosperous. Daichi, looking at his brother's fortune, said with regret, "I had the same wealth, the same land as you, but it's all gone now. How did you manage to keep it?" Akio smiled and replied, "Brother, I remembered what our father said: wealth is like water in a dry land. I always saved a portion, not for the present but for the future. I spent only what was needed, and I invested in things that would grow and multiply over time. Wealth flows like a river only if you guide it carefully. You did not treat your wealth with care, and so it dried up, leaving you thirsty in your old age. Daichi nodded sadly. I see now that wealth, like water, must be respected and guided, or it vanishes into the earth. When Master Kenzo finished his story, Hiroshi sat in silence for a while. Finally, he said, so the key is to save steadily, to spend wisely, and to invest in things that grow over time. Master Kenzo nodded, yes, Hiroshi. Money is like water. If you waste it on things that do not last, it will slip through your fingers. But if you respect it, guide it, and use it to cultivate the future, it will nourish you throughout your life. Save with purpose, spend with mindfulness, and invest in things that will bear fruit long after you are gone. This is the way of lasting wealth. Hiroshi bowed deeply and left the temple with a lighter heart, carrying the lesson of water and wealth with him for the rest of his days. And so, the story of Hanzo's sons lived on in the village, reminding everyone that true wealth comes not just from earning, but from the wisdom of knowing how to let it flow wisely throughout life. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bell, so that you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video.